So this is my third time seeing this movie in IMAX, and this time I got really close to the screen, right? And that one moment at the very beginning always it's like a jump scare for me and the audience, where there's just darkness, and then out of nowhere it's just like, and then it says dreams are messages from the deep, something like that. And then the Warner Brothers logo comes on, and we see that first image of Arrakis, like the surface of Arrakis, and we're seeing the spice like swirl and twinkle in the air from the golden sun, and we're seeing the sky, and we're hearing Zendaya speak, and she's talking about how her planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun hits it a certain way. I'm in love. I'm in love with this movie. I mean, personally, I think this is Denis Villeneuve's. After a third viewing, I think that this is his best movie. I really do. I mean, even the tone, even like the dreary, drab, like just gothic, rated R, like grimy tone of 2049. This movie has that. It's just that this movie is PG-13. It's weird that this movie is PG-13 because it feels like it almost feels rated R, but it's not. And that's so genius. That's so genius to me. Like, with Stanley Kubrick, my favorite film director, with Stanley Kubrick's 2001, that's a rated. It's a rated G. It's a rated G movie, 2001. And given all the dark things and all the cerebral things that happened in 2001, it's amazing that Stanley Kubrick made it so that like everybody could go see it. And with Dune, it not being that hard R, it's like you and like your teenagers, whatever, you and your kids, you can go see it together. And that's so big to me because if I was a little kid, and I had saw Dune, it probably would have been my favorite movie of all time. This movie could become my favorite movie of all time, potentially. I don't know. I can't get over what I just saw. It's almost as if, because again, I sat really close to the IMAX screen so I could just let it envelope my vision, and I let this movie just wash all over me like an ocean tide. I mean, even though I think it's like digital photography with film grain spliced in, it looks remarkably beautiful, just overwhelmingly beautiful cinematography, overwhelming. I mean, and there's so many different lighting cues, like in the third act when Bautista, he tells the Baron that Timothée Chalamet, Paul Atreides and his mother are dead because of that storm that they got lost in. Okay, like when Jessica and Paul, they're inside those weird helicopters, and it's like, it's being flung through that storm on Arrakis. The sickly yellow light that's illuminating them. Oh my God! There's a moment where also every frame is a painting. Every frame is a painting. Every frame could be a screensaver, a wallpaper. I can't believe it. I'm about to buy. I'm about to buy all these books. I'm about to buy all these books on Audible and physical. I don't give a fuck. Frank Herbert, my nigga, holy shit, what have you done? Because like it's weird because Dune, if I'm not mistaken, predates Star Wars. So a lot of people are gonna look at Dune and be like, this is very Star Warsy. When it's like you argue that Dune gave birth to Star Wars. It's like I consider myself an artist, and I I consume, I devour art, and it's like I feel like my whole life I've been looking for a movie like this, like The Lord of the Rings for fantasy, and apparently Dune for sci-fi. Like, this is the Lord of the Rings of sci-fi. This movie is the sci-fi equivalent to the Fellowship of the Ring, and there has to be a part two. I just oh my god, when they go to that Giddy Prime or whatever the fuck it was, that Prime planet where the Harkonnen are at, their home world, like, holy shit. Like, there's just the oily, inky blacks, these deep, lush colors. Like, it almost felt like something out of Alien, out of the first Ridley Scott Alien. That's what that planet felt like. Like the actual alien creature, it's almost like that's what his home world was like. That's what the place that's what it looked like. That's what the atmosphere was like. By the way, I do want to talk about a couple things that make me laugh. And by the way, this movie is a 10 out of 10. Clearly, this is a 10 out of 10. From the way that I'm talking, this is a 10 out of 10 movie. This is a science fiction masterpiece. And I haven't read the books yet, but we're going to. I've heard people say that this is just like the first half of the first book, and it's like, this is so good. I know that we're going all over the place, but this is just so good. This is just so good, dog. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. At the beginning of the movie, with that gigantic fucking ship lands on Caldon, whatever the fuck it is, the home world of the Atreides, right? When that fucking giant ship lands on that planet, right? And that black dude comes out. Oh my god, when was it the Duke, right? When he tells Josh Brolin's character to smile. Like, oh my god, every comedic moment that's in the movie, like it lands fantastically, and it was intellectually thought out. It's not like some Michael Bay cringe, right? When they're walking off the ship from like all their garb, all the clothing they're wearing, it's almost like the futuristic Vatican just showed up. I just can't get over that. It's just over. And the score, that's another thing. The score and the sound design is unbelievably amazeballs and immense. I'm talking like gigantic, dog. I mean, the sound design feels like it's for a sci-fi horror film. There's so many slabs of sub bass. It's almost like the speaker is getting flooded with fucking sub bass. That's just like there's what. I love this movie. I fucking love this movie. Let's go. Smash that fucking like button. Let's go. I fucking love this movie, dog. Get away from me. The moment where they're on Arrakis and what is it, Josh Brolin. It's like everybody's in the ship. They just got off the ship, right? And somebody's like playing those, what is it, bagpipes, whatever the fuck that instrument is, right? It's so fucking dope. It's just so cool. It just feels so regal, so futuristically royal. It's so ridiculous. This movie and the soundtrack, it's like the perfect mixture of like ancient and futuristic, as if like we're watching the world of Troy, or the world of Napoleon, or the world of Alexander the Great, taking place like 10,000, 20,000 years from now. I think in the movie it's like 10,000 years from now is the present, but it's just like, holy shit. It just feels ancient and futuristic at the same time. And oh yeah, when Josh Brolin, when he's walking past his army, and he's like, Atreides! And there's like a fucking, like the soundtrack is just so ominous and just badass. And there's a spaceship in the background that's so fucking big. It's probably like bigger than like a few skyscrapers just crunched together. And this giant spaceship is just like, my fucking seat is shaking. I've been waiting. You know, like I grew up loving Star Wars. And it's like, goddamn, as much as I've loved Star Wars, I think that Denis Villeneuve's Dune is the Star Wars that I've been waiting for my whole fucking life, dog. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. The cinematography is so good. What the fuck? The score is so perfect. There's something so interstellarly beautiful, and there's just something so grim and menacing and like sci-fi horror film-ish about the score here. Hans Zimmer, like he's just been lit on fire here. The cinematography is bonkers good, especially in terms of the grand scale. The home world of the Atreides, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's like Calden or something like that. But either way, when we first open on there, right, and it says the name of the planet, and it says like home world of the Atreides, like that wide shot, right, with like these mountains and the sky, and the way that the lighting is, and like those clouds, it's just like, whoa. Well, I feel like I've just been taken somewhere else. I feel like I've been waiting for something like this. The only people who've ever given me this feeling in cinema is like James Cameron, Christopher Nolan, and Denis. And like, goddamn, it's almost a tie between who did the best between James Cameron's Avatar and this. And I'm kind of leaning on this just because the tactile feel, the realness of the world. Shit. Whoa, dude. Whoa. I just, oh God. And then, oh God. Oh, shit. What? Oh, fuck. This was, oh God. Oh my God. This was so much better than I could have hoped. Oh my goodness. I love sci-fi. Fuck's sake, The Matrix 1999 is my favorite movie of all time. I love sci-fi. I love fantasy. Oh shit. Oh my God, dude. When I was a kid and I used to go to the library to read books, often I would go to the library by myself. I would look at books about, like, you know, the planets like Neptune and Jupiter and all that, Saturn. I would do this in school too. I would find these big, large format books, these big, large format pages, huge pages. And if you've ever seen like Frank Miller's 300 physically, it's like these really wide pages. I would look at space books like that, and look at like Venus. You know, the surface of Venus, surface of Mars, these huge images, and just stare at them and just dream about space and these alien worlds. And the way that the camera in this movie observes and stares at you know, these gigantic mountain-sized spaceships, these glorious, like, otherworldly environments that kind of remind me of this artist right here, Sid Mead, in terms of the intricacy of these surface textures, the machinery. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When we see Stellan Skarsgård for like the first time, and there's just water beating on his face, and every time he speaks, he sort of croaks. Sort of speak like this, and it's almost like you can barely. He's like the perfect embodiment of evil, you know. Like when we meet Heath Ledger's Joker, like it's like we get it. The nigga's scary, nigga's evil. That's all I need. Let's take this nigga down. I'm behind him 100%. The actor is giving it his all, and that's what the Baron feels like here. He just feels like pure evil. He feels like the perfect Star Warsy Palpatine of this world. Shit, this character probably gave birth to Palpatine. You know, probably Jabba the Hutt probably somehow exists because of this character. You know, the way that this character levitates and floats around, like when he levitates in that one scene, and he's like, "My Dune, my Arrakis." It's just so sick. So dope. Oh my god, so dope. He just feels like a perfect villain. And that moment where there's like an extreme close up and that water's beating on his face and that fucking thing on his back, it lights up red. Reminds me of some shit out of Akira or something. But you know, we're seeing this close up of his face, and then it cuts to like this blue planet in the background. We're seeing the stars, and we're seeing this huge, audacious, fucking menacing ship, and there's this tiny little ship that passes through it. Oh my god, that moment right there, that transition was so fucking epic and dope. Holy shit. You know how you just be looking at some awesome concept art, and you're like, god damn, if there was a movie like this concept art, that would be like the perfect movie. This is that movie! The CGI and the VFX, like the way that he blends practical effects with CGI effects, it's like you can't, it's hard to, you can't even like see the seams. It's so hard to see the seams. But the Baron is perfect. Fuck, I'm going all over the place, but this is just how I feel about this 10 out of 10 masterpiece of a movie. Goddamn, that nigga over there looks like Timothée Chalamet. Holy shit, he's got the same haircut and everything. Paul Atreides, dog. When we open up on him, and he's got this little recorder next to him, there's like a projector next to him, and it's like he's learning about the history of Arrakis, and as that narrator is speaking, teaching Paul about Arrakis, like there's this beautiful, I think it's like a violin, or there's some like string music playing in the background. Or maybe it's a flute, whatever the fuck it is. There's this music playing in the background. That is so... And like, when that narrator is like, planet Arrakis is home to the spice. It is the most valuable resource in the universe. And like that beautiful music is just sweeping and just sweeping me up. Just ascending towards the heavens in the background, like, oh my god, you're seeing like imagery of like the atmosphere of some planet and some big ass fucking ship going by. The aspect ratio changes in IMAX, like it just had me like that. Okay, like these mechanical environments, these artificial environments, these gigantic spaceships are so big that people are like just this big on the screen. Like, it reminds me of like opening up, going through like splash pages like in Marvel comic books. Like, oh my god, like that one moment when they're on Arrakis and it's like nighttime and Josh Brolin gets woken up because Oscar, you know, the Duke, he kind of gets shot with an arrow that paralyzes him. Okay, that night when Josh Brolin like runs out and he's like, my god, and like they're fucking getting bombed and shit, like dude, like the sub bass just rattling through your body as that shit's happening. There's one moment where like this ship exploded over here and the people in front of it were so tiny, and like the shot was so massive, the enormity of this shot was so great that I almost didn't even notice these people over here until like the third screening. But yeah, but the characters are, you know, the sound, visually, it's just so profound, it's so masterful. The score's masterful as well. Oh my god, when Paul Atreides, when he kills someone for the first time, and that one song that's like with that fucking with the, you know, those screaming vocals, right? So good. Great characters. Josh Brolin, he's just such a like a hardened leader. Like, he's just such a badass. He has such a swagger to him. They're not human. They're brutal. Harkonnen must be stopped. When Paul is like, that's rude, and like they have like a little duel, you know, a little sword battle, just a little practicing, right? Fencing, whatever it's called, right? And God, just even the way that like Paul is flipping the blade around, and just visually we're told like, oh, this is how the shields work on their bodies. Like, gotcha. Like, it's information is just doled out so perfectly to you. Nothing ever feels convoluted. God damn. I love when Josh Brolin was like, it doesn't matter what mood you're in, okay? You always have to be ready. And that's real shit. This movie is full of like great like life lessons. Like when Paul Atreides has to put his hand inside the box. Like, I love this sequence. Because like it's like, yeah, like to be great is to be tested, is to withstand pressure. Can you withstand the pressure? Because that's what it's going to take to be great, you know? And that's so true to life, you know? And my God, Timothée Chalamet's performance when his hand was in the box was just extraordinary. I mean, there's no blood, there's no gore, you know? But it's almost like you can feel what he's feeling, you know? His performance was just so profound. Shout out to Charlotte Rampling for being so eerie. And those Bene Gesserit whatever sisters that arrived with her, with those wearing that like black hooded clothing. Fuck me, did they look terrifying. Jessica's mother's like, you have to wake up, the sisterhood is here, or some shit. The Bene Gesserit, right? Eerie. I'm very excited to learn more about this Bene Gesserit people, sisterhood, whatever. I'm very excited to learn more about that. Oh my God! But again, I keep meaning to get back to this. Well, Paul Atreides, played perfectly by Timothée Chalamet. Which, by the way, Timothée Chalamet. Look at these two images. Look at these two images right here, dog. Look at these two images. This nigga is beautiful as fuck. We can move on though. But he plays the role perfectly. When he wakes up, when he's learning about Arrakis, when he's dreaming about Arrakis, and he's seeing Zendaya. And what's amazing is that a lot of the visions that Paul has had haven't come to pass yet. Like when we see Jason Momoa with the Fremen, it's like, even though Jason Momoa died, Duncan, Idaho, fucking BA name, by the way, Duncan, Idaho. But when he dies, it's like, so he's gonna come back? Question mark? Because he's seen with the Fremen, right? Super weird. If Hagrid from Harry Potter was Jason Momoa size, that's basically what Duncan, Idaho is like. If you combine some fierceness, some fucking bro Chad energy in there, that's basically his Duncan, Idaho. A nigga that was, oh my God, when Duncan was killing a bunch of those Harkonnens or whatever, and he's like running across the battlefield, and he's like, ah, go to hell, or some shit like that. He like scared the fuck out of these Harkonnen soldiers that they just like ran away from this nigga while he jumped inside of one of those helicopters and flew away. Like, that dude's a fucking badass, okay? The way that he fucking sacrifices himself and like fights to the end to like buy time for them to get away. Like, what a beast. Okay, what a man. That's a fucking man right there. And Timothée, like, I love Duncan, Idaho. He also kind of reminds me of Brendan Fraser's character from The Mummy as well. I love characters like that. Nigga that you know will survive in the thick of it. Timothée Chalamet is so perfect. He's like the chosen one. He's very relatable. Like I said before, he's very sympathetic. Like he doesn't even kill someone for the first time till this story. You know, he kills someone for the first time, and you can tell that he didn't want to do it. He was deeply affected by it. He wants to honor himself and his family, but he wants to carve out his own path going forward. You know, he wants to go about living his own life, you know, by his own terms. And it's like, who can't relate to that? So I find him fascinating. You know, watching Paul Atreides is like watching a young Alexander the Great becoming his true self, you know, or watching Napoleon being at first young, timid, a little shy, and then becoming like this strong, aggressive, fierce leader, you know. So I love Paul Atreides. I love the first sequence where, like, when Paul Atreides, when he speaks, and at first it's just pure, like, sub-bass garble, like, and then you hear him, give me the water, and like his mother's like, like that whole moment was so dope, so dope. The voice, you know, that's a curious aspect. The voice, it almost feels supernatural in a way. I feel like something equivalent to the voice must have existed back in the day, like in ancient Egypt or something like that. Had to have. There's so much that's been forgotten. Jessica is interesting because it's like she's trying to be the best mother that she can be, a nurturing, warm, loving mother, but like she it's almost like she's with the Bene Gesserit, she's kind of a shady snake kind of person as well, because it's like the lengths that she's gone to make sure that Paul is great, that Paul could possibly be the chosen one. It's like, ooh, whoa, this is interesting. The Duke, played by Oscar Isaac, he plays the role so handsomely. The moment where they're walking through like a graveyard, just Paul and the Duke, the way that the Duke is talking, the way that he's talking to Paul, it's just so gorgeous. Like Oscar Isaac, he's talking to his son as if he's like speaking poetry, but he's just talking to his son about, you know, being, you know, a master of his crafts, about going to that next level, about honoring the family, you know, becoming like a great leader, you know, a great ruler for the House of Atreides. This is just, oh my god. Also, I love the imagery of the bull, you know, because that represents the Duke's father, and like right, you know, before Oscar Isaac dies, you know, when he's like naked and laid up and you see him paralyzed looking, and like he's looking at the bull, you know, it's like before he died, his father was with him in a way. There's just so much here. There's so much here. There's so much to unpack. The sandworms are so well done. This character right here, she's like the guide for our main characters in Arrakis. Like when she's like, boom, 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 and the fucking surface of the sand shakes so much that it almost seems like a bubbly, foaming liquid, you know, from the sandworms. Like sandworms are just brilliantly rendered. I mean, whether we're talking about this goosebumps inducing shot when that one spice harvesting machine malfunctions and like people in that machine need to get rescued, like the suspense, it was like something out of Jaws with the sandworm. Like it's 5 minutes away, it's 2 minutes away. Paul Atreides, like there's so many times when he's just tripping on spice, which is wild. I wish I could try some of the spice and trip out on it and get the blue eyes going. That'd be sick. Javier Bardem was very, very cool. Very intriguing character. I feel like I need another movie's worth of information to have a full opinion about Javier Bardem's character, but he was cool. Very intriguing. I love when he was like, the Atreides thought that like he was being disrespectful, but spitting was actually, it was just he was spitting his moisture. It's so hot on Arrakis, like it was just him showing respect. I love that Denis stops to really make the technology make sense, like the suits that they wear on Arrakis, the way that it cools their body, the way that it's always recycling like their sweat and tears and shit into water. It's powered by them moving. There's just so much here. I need to leave. I need to leave soon because like I've been talking so long, it's starting to get dark. But what else can I really say? I mean, oh yeah, I did have a couple flaws. Dave Bautista. I mean, these are really nitpicks, but literally every time that Dave Bautista is on screen, he's like this. And the scene where he was like, he's talking to the Baron, and he's like, "Die! Die!" And those two bald women were like I think I already mentioned that, but that part fucking cracks me up. There's another moment where this lady, she's holding this knife, and she just goes, in front of Jessica. That moment, those two moments, I don't know, those two things are the closest to flaws or nitpicks that I could plausibly find inside this masterpiece. I mean, when we see like the orange, yellowish, like just this lens flare moment, and the Dune materializes, there has to be a part 2. I mean, this was a fucking masterpiece, okay? I felt like I strapped in and literally went to, like, I went on interstellar travel. I went to different planets. I saw all these different kinds of spaceships and these incredible spaceship battles and hand-to-hand combat battles that felt like something medieval. You know, something out of Troy, something out of Alexander the Great. I just love it. Like this moment right here, where Paul and the sandworm are like staring at each other, and you can peer into the sandworm's mouth, and you can almost see into his throat, and it's just like, and it's like shaking the walls of the theater. I mean, watching this movie was like a religious experience, and pure cinema.